Hello there, welcome to Field Study, an exploration of food and the landscape. So today I'm out walking a section of the Isle of Wight Coastal path, stopping along the way to show you guys 3 things that you can forage for right now at the end of summer. Hello. So you join me here on the sunny Isle of Wight. It is the last week of August and the signs of autumn are in the air, but it's still very warm. So the summer season is coming to a close, but we're going to make the most of it and we're going to go on a lovely walk down the Isle of Wight Coastal path, and I'm going to show you 3 plants that are good to forage for right now. Stay tuned. So the first plant we come across is this. So this is the sloe, which is the fruit of the blackthorn bush. So this is a sloe. It's a member of the Prunus family, which is the same family as plums and damsons and nectarines and things like that. So to identify the sloe bush or the blackthorn, you're looking for leaves like this, so oval leaves with finely toothed edges. It's a very, very common bush in British hedgerows and it grows quite densely. So the main identifying feature that you should be looking out for when you're looking for blackthorn bushes is the thorns that give it its name, because they are something to be reckoned with. So the bush, when it's cut, responds by putting out lots of thorns like this. So in British hedgerows where they get cut by the tractor, it sort of defends itself by putting out lots of these really, really long thorns. So they're made of incredibly dense wood, which means they don't break off and they stick in anything that sort of passes by and brushes up against it, so they're pretty vicious things. So the current thinking is that the blackthorn evolved these spikes in order to protect itself from large grazing animals. So if you look at the size of the spike, it sort of gives you an idea of what kind of animal it might have been protecting itself against. So it's now thought by scientists that it evolved these to protect itself from a species of large grazing rhinoceros that used to live in the UK and all across Northern Europe. So obviously it would need that much spike in order to penetrate into rhinoceros skin. So if you've ever popped one of these in your mouth, you'll know what I mean when I say the taste is bordering on unpleasant. So, whew. They are sour and they are astringent, so they give the sensation that your mouth is actually drying out or turning into sandpaper, which isn't what you want from something edible. But the most popular thing that people do with these is macerate them in sugar, which takes away that tannic quality, and then steep them in alcohol, which further takes that away. And it makes a delicious beverage called sloe gin. I'm sure plenty of you have tried it, if not made it. So on the outside of the sloe, you can see that it's covered in this sort of downy white deposit, and that's actually colonies of yeast. So you can actually rub it off with your thumb like that. So that's a colony of yeast. So another use for these is to put them in a sugary liquid, or the wort if you are making beer, and you can actually harvest the yeast off of it for use in brewing and also bread making and baking, etc. So I'm running some experiments at the moment, but it's giving some lovely flavours, so I'll report back on that when I've sort of dialed it in a little bit more. It's bewildering to think that this, what seems to be quite like a charming, safe environment, was once populated by big cats and elephants and rhinoceroses. Absolutely fascinating. And now we're just left with the artefacts of their existence. Interesting. Be nice to be out there, wouldn't it? So this is one of the king of all summer fruits in my opinion. So this is elderberry. So this is the fruit of the elder tree, Sambucus. And it is absolutely beautiful. I actually have a collection of these in my garden. I love them so much. So when you're looking for elder, you're looking for this sort of leaf structure. The bark of the elder tree is usually pitted and quite gnarly, and that happens when it's quite young. So they say that it looks old before its time. One of the easiest ways to find yourself an elder tree is to go out in the early summer and forage for elderflower, because as soon as you know where the elderflower is, you know where there's going to be elderberries later on in the season. And it is a bountiful harvest. So this is why when you're picking elderflower, you should always leave some behind, because where you've left elderflower, elderberries like this will happen later on in the year. and they were once quite a prized fruit. When the Romans landed in the UK, it's actually referred to as the grape of the Britons. So this is what we used to make wine out of before cultivated grapes and stuff sort of came over here with the Romans. So just a quick note, the elder as a tree is actually mildly toxic. So it's bad luck to burn this on your hearth in your house, supposedly. So where the folklore probably stems from is that it releases cyanide into the air when the wood is burnt if it's unseasoned, and I think it could make people unwell or kill them. And because of this, you'll often find the elder tree planted next to the back door of old houses. This is because it emits a sort of chemical compound, a set of smells, which repels flying insects. So you could leave your back door open and flies and stuff wouldn't come into the kitchen. So yeah, that's another interesting human use for the elder tree. So the wood, the stems and the leaves are all mildly toxic. The berries are absolutely fine. It's best if you cook them because heat degrades the cyanide compound in them. But you can eat a few, that's absolutely fine. I've been doing it since I was a kid, but only a few though. And if you ferment them into wine, I can guarantee you'll begrudge anyone picking elderflower in the spring and early summer because you will be wanting to get your hands on these later on in the season. So let's carry on the walk and see what else we can find. Whew. If you've never done it before, I can strongly recommend the Isle of Wight Coastal path as a long distance walk. So I was just walking along the coastal path here and I came across our next plant. So this is broadleaf plantain. You'll commonly find this plant growing along pathways and roadways, in grasslands, field edges, anywhere like that. It really is one of the most prolific plants in the UK. So it's part of the family Plantaginaceae, and there are about 200 members of the Plantaginaceae family, and 20 to 30 of them are either used as a culinary pot herb or are used for medicinal reasons. So it's well documented the humans' use of this plant. It's an interesting one to our modern palates because especially when the leaves get big like this, they tend to be a little bit bitter. They have these rather distinctive flowering heads and then seed heads afterwards. So these are called all sorts of stuff all over the UK. So they can be chimney sweeps, soldiers, knights. There's all sorts of names for these things, and children usually play games with them. That and ribwort plantain, which is its cousin as well. But this is an interesting herb medicinally. So it is mucilaginous, meaning that its sap is sort of slimy, and it has been used wherever inflammation needs to be treated. So one of the most common things for this to be used on is insect bites, and it also works when you get stung by one of these things, a stinging nettle. So instead of the dock leaf, you should actually be reaching for your broadleaf plantain. So if you chew it up in your mouth and make a poultice out of it and put it on the affected area or the mosquito bite, then it will reduce the inflammation. Now that isn't where its properties on treating insect bites stops. So there is some people that say if you incorporate this into your diet, that when you sweat you'll actually secrete a chemical which will keep away mosquitoes. So like a natural insect repellent comes out in your sweat. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this plant. I'm sure there are ways to make it shush bird. I'm sure there are ways to make it taste absolutely delicious, and I will be experimenting with it. Maybe lacto fermenting it or making a kimchi out of it, adding some spices into it and breaking it down like that. But I can't eat this every day. So good luck to you if you can, and get back to me to let me know if the mosquitoes leave you alone. So these are the seed heads that appear at this time of year. So the seeds can be harvested, and they were actually found in the stomach of mummified bog people. So we know that our ancestors would have been eating this stuff either for medicinal value or as a staple foodstuff. In fact, there's a sort of porridge or gruel that's made out of the seeds of this, which I haven't tried, but it's one that I am due to experiment with at some point soon. So there we go, broadleaf plantain. It's definitely one that we're going to be returning to in the future. I will carry on doing research into the culinary uses of it and get back with a more in-depth identification video, hopefully with a recipe that you guys can follow along to make it taste amazing. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So there we go, that's 3 more things that you can forage for now at the end of summer. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more foraging videos and recipes from this beautiful landscape, then please hit subscribe. Take care.